what the heck is going on with Shohei Ohtani and Ippei Mizuhara? We're going to get into that. Obviously, we're not going to interject much opinion. We're just going to talk about what we read and try and formulate some baseline thoughts from there. But we'll move off of that to the exciting stuff. We do have 2 regular season ball games under our belts, and then we've got win totals over or under for each team in the American League. Jack, Peter on the Just Baseball Show, Army to join us for win totals. As always, it's brought to us by
BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Use code JustBaseball when you download the BetMGM app, whether that be on iOS or Android. And when you deposit using code JustBaseball, they will match a first bet offer up to $1,500 to get everybody ready for the MLB season. And I'm not going to make a joke comparing MGM code to EPA. I'm not doing it. I'm not making that joke.
So let's nip it in the bud right now. The story in baseball is Shohei Ohtani. The bomb threat before Game 1 is crazy.
Yeah, that got swept under the radar with all this eBay stuff.
This is crazy, and I feel for Shohei a lot. And, you know, if you just heard me say that and say, what do you mean? He's betting on baseball. Okay, let's get this out of the way right now.
Yes.
I'm going to give you all the information that I know off the dome based on reading great reporting from ESPN and The Athletic. And I am actually going to link Fabian Ardaya's follow-up article that he posted in the middle of Game 2 in Seoul that has a bunch of other contributors from The Athletic. Britt Giroli, I think Ken Rosenthal contributed to it as well.
Basically, every single person that is really smart wrote about it.
So here's the deal. And I'll walk through like a loose timeline to my understanding. Last year, Ippei Mizuhara, who has been Shohei Ohtani's interpreter and really best friend since he came stateside. He was his interpreter in Anaheim. He was his,
he was just his guy. I mean, think about it. In these articles, it said that Ippei was around Shohei more than his wife.
Yeah.
That he was his closest confidant, his best friend, his interpreter, his business partner. Shohei even joked about that when asked about the relationship. He laughed. He's like, we're not friends. We're business partners. in a joking manner, of course. Like, they're as close as two people can be in the landscape.
So they met with the Nippon Ham Fighters in the NPB. So they have known each other for a long time. Ippei, based on the reporting, has a serious gambling problem. And he found himself $4.5 million in debt to an illegal bookmaker in California. California is one of 12 states where gambling is not legal right now. So if you need another way to hear it, Ippei was using a bookie to get his bets in. He was using a bookie. He was betting on international soccer. He was betting on the NFL, the NBA, and college football. Note there's no baseball in there, okay? There's no baseball. The next part of it is Ippei falls $4.5 million in gambling debt to this bookmaker. Do you know the bookmaker's name off the top?
Yeah, his name is Michael Breuer?
Bauer?
Boyer? Trevor Bauer? No, it's I'm trying to find it right
I think
here.
It's Boyer. So Ippei owes 4.5. Shohei, fairly upset, says, okay, I'll bail you out because you're my best friend. Matthew Boyer. That's his name. Boyer. I think it's Boyer. So Ippei gets a loan from Ohtani for $4.5 million to pay it off. But Shohei, and the initial story was Shohei did not trust Ippei with $4.5 million because he was worried that Ippei was going to gamble it. So Shohei, in turn, directly pays the bookie and titles the payments loan. They were in several installments of $500,000. That is the story. That's what the initial story was. And that was the initial story that was shared with ESPN with a scrum that Ippei had in Seoul. But then Shohei's legal team comes out and issues a different statement saying that it was theft from Ippei. Feels weird to immediately change course. I guess they thought that the optics would be better if Ippei stole the money and he's just a true fall guy for Ohtani, even though Ohtani at this point, and Fabian makes it crystal clear. I want to read this actually verbatim. Here we go. Mizuhara did not respond to a request for comment. Ohtani is not currently facing discipline, according to an MLB official, nor is he believed to be under active investigation by the league. Shohei is not in legal trouble right now.
No.
He took a legal conflict into his own hands And that, in turn, is letting Twitter fingers go crazy.
Yeah, and I'm never shocked by Twitter's reaction to something, but I was more surprised than I normally am, because it did feel like as soon as the story kind of switched up, right? Because Ipe had his 90-minute conversation with ESPN, where basically he admitted everything that you laid out. Yeah. And then the lawyer said, nope, we're going to recant that statement. Yeah. So from my understanding, it did feel that he was telling the truth. And then the lawyer said, nope, we don't want that out yet.
Yeah.
Instead of he lied, and then the lawyers say, no, we want to tell a different lie. Ask yourself if that makes sense, right? But the reason I was saying I was surprised by the Twitter reaction is as soon as they change stories, everyone's like, it's Ohtani gambling. MLB is covering it up. People are acting like the MLB is the United States government. Like they have polls in every single direction that they can tell. Like, for example, Matthew Boyer,
yeah.
his lawyer even came out and said, my client never spoke with Shohei Ohtani. Is MLB paying the bookie's lawyer to cover up for Shohei Ohtani, which would then, if he was found guilty, the lawyer of lying, he would then lose his job.
Correct.
So is he going to put his job on the line for Major League Baseball when his client is a bookie that is dealing in other sports? That doesn't make any sense to me.
That is the most important thing that I want to get across. Like and you know, obviously everybody's running with jokes, and jokes are fun and all that, but like face swapping Shohei Ohtani and Pete Rose is bullshit. I want to get that out of the way.
Like I saw people saying that Shohei Ohtani and Wander Franco were in the same category in comment sections. I'm like, guys. Like, jokes are one thing, and I will credit that Twitter commenter to a joke. But still, it's like then people run with it, and it just feels like as soon as the guy is on the top, as soon as he makes $700 million, and he didn't go to your team, immediately let's bring him down at the very first sight of something weird. Yeah. We can both sit here and say, this does feel fishy, right?
Sure.
Changing stories. This is a big story on its own. We are not saying that, oh yes, 100% Shohei Ohtani's not guilty. That's just not what we're saying. We are just not even close to willing to say that he is, or that we're going to start doing this because it feels fishy. Like, let's see more information.
And that's the thing. Everybody needs an opinion right away when they see an ESPN article linking Ohtani and gambling in the same sentence. And it's like, oh, Shohei Ohtani has a baseball betting addiction. He's betting on the Angels to lose. Now he's betting on the Dodgers to lose. That's not happening, everybody. It was his interpreter that was betting on, again, the NFL, the NBA, college football, and international soccer. And Shohei, in turn, looked to bail him out. They then called like the loan payments theft on Ipe's part, and Shohei didn't know about it. I'm with you. Why do you go from one lie to another lie? This is a PR nightmare, and this is like a total fumble legally from Ohtani's legal team. Like, why would you reverse course when Ipe just went on the record with ESPN telling what we think is the truth? And I don't want to get into, oh, this is the truth, I'm standing by it. This is a lie, I'm standing by it, because we're so early in the process. Like, just give it a second.
I also want to talk about the money for a second, because people are saying that the reason they think Ohtani might have been doing the gambling is because of how big the payment is, right? Like, Ipe is not making $10 million, $20 million a year.
Ipe said he's making between $300,000 and $500,000 a year.
Exactly. So people are saying, well, then how would he be gambling all of this money?
Credits.
It's a credit system. So if you know that, then you can put out loans and you don't have to pay it. And he always said that he would pay Shohei back. So he knew in his back corner, he is a guy making $65 million from endorsements.
Endorsements alone.
And another reason why it's so hard to believe that, first of all, Shohei would be gambling, but it's also a little bit easier for me, at least, to believe that Shohei wasn't as concerned with the money, because look at Shohei's track record. When he first came over to Major League Baseball, he signed that contract and basically gave every single penny to his mother.
But he also got out of NPB early and limited his earning potential.
Exactly, because he's always not really cared about the money. And then it was made even more evident when he does sign this $700 million contract and he defers $680 million. So there is a circumstance here. There is a situation where he says to himself, like, yes, I'm not paying attention to the dollars in my bank account maybe as much as I should. So, and the final point I want to make on the Shohei gambling thing, and maybe I'm being naive, but I have been gambling now for a decently long time. I've watched Shohei documentaries. Every single time he speaks to the media, I listen up. He doesn't seem like he's gambling. Like, he doesn't seem like a gambler. There are two types of gamblers, at least in my experience. There is the brash individuals, the people who are very confident in their bets, right? And then it gets even more and more confident where you could be labeled a degenerate, right? Where you have that kind of brash personality, right? We saw that in a guy like Pete Rose. When Phil Mickelson came out about that story, I wasn't really surprised. But Shohei Ohtani doesn't seem like a gambler. I seem like a gambler, right? Do me and Shohei, are we similar in personality types? I would say no. And then there's the other side of the gambler who's like super into the numbers, a mega nerd, who's studying all these spreadsheets. Do you think Shohei's doing that?
He might just
no, I don't.
Out.
So it's so hard for me to believe after watching everything that I have over the past 5 years of Shohei Ohtani in interviews that I think he's a gambler. I cannot believe that.
So here's another thing that separates you and Shohei Ohtani, and something that I found very funny in this Athletic excerpt.
It's more personality, right? It's not like athletic ability.
No. It's more personality. If there was a hot mic for you to say your piece, you would go do it.
100%.
Yeah. So this is from Fabian, and again, I'm clipping this article and I'm linking it in the episode description. So go read it if you do have an Athletic subscription. I consider it worth your time. Quote: Ohtani didn't enter the LA Dodgers clubhouse during the 50 minutes reporters were allowed inside before Thursday's Soul Series finale against the San Diego Padres. Nor did he so much as venture into the hallway leading from the clubhouse to the dugout, where more than 36 cameras from English-speaking, Japanese, and Korean news outlets awaited during batting practice. His first public sighting came when he emerged onto the on-deck circle in the bottom of the first inning, ripping a first-pitch single off Joe Musgrove.
I love that.
It's like, put this aside and go hit. It's hard for me to believe that this guy was in serious gambling debt with an illegal bookmaker. It feels like he has better feel than that. And it sounds like Ippei has a serious problem. I hope he gets help. And I hope that this matter gets resolved. But remember, as of right now, Shohei Ohtani is not under investigation by Major League Baseball. As it stands right now, I'd be pretty shocked if he missed a game because of this. I want to talk about the Soul Series real quick. There's not much
before we move on to the Soul Series, I also want to make something clear as well. Like, what we do here on the Just Baseball show, we are covering this, and what we try and do is just give you the information. And we will give our opinion on what we think. But if we get more information that counters our current opinion, we will let you know, and we will apologize if we were wrong.
Yes.
Here on the Just Baseball show, we focus on the field, right? We don't really talk about Wander Franco. We don't really talk about Trevor Bauer. You can believe whatever you want about them, but we are focused on Jackson Merrill's exit velos. Like, we just don't really focus about what's off the field. We want to focus about what's on the field. So when these kinds of conversations come up, I think even the three of us get a little bit uncomfortable because, like, we don't really want to bring it in.
To be honest, I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah, right, it's an uncomfortable situation.
This is uncomfortable. What I will also say is my personal opinion, clumping Shohei Ohtani in with Wander Franco, Trevor Bauer, Marcell Ozuna, Julio Urias, Aroldis Chapman, don't do that.
Yeah, and that's, I assume that's more Twitter jokes. It's just like, I get it, make your jokes on Twitter, like whatever, but it's just, it is a bad look because you don't have the information and then you're just sending this guy and people get down a rabbit hole. And I do feel as if you go in and read that story and in your opinion going into it, your perspective is, I want this to be true. I want Ohtani to be in trouble, you are going to find pieces that fit that narrative, right? And maybe we're human beings. We have emotions. I want to believe that Shohei is not involved, right? That's what I want to believe.
But he's involved.
But he is involved. So we read everything that we could read and then made a decision, right? We didn't read a headline and then overreact to it. We read everything that we could. We gave you all the information that we can. And once we find new information, we're going to tell you.
Correct. Okay. Soul Series, 2 games. Dodgers took game 1. Padres take game 2 in a total slugfest. Game 1 was fun. Baseball's back. Game 2 was weird at the beginning because Yamamoto got shelled, but it was fun because it was high scoring and baseball's back. The premise I had an issue with, getting up at 6 a.m. on a Wednesday and a Thursday a week before anybody else gets going. It didn't feel poorly executed from an on-field standpoint, and I bet this was a great...
that was the only thing I thought that was well executed was the play on the field, because off the
play
field...
on the field and the vibe in Seoul. I thought the vibe in Seoul was awesome.
I wanted to be there so bad. It looked so much fun.
It looked great, but based on the American consumer, especially the West Coast consumer, having this air at 3 a.m.
And it was blacked out in certain areas of California. My friends who are living there right now said they couldn't watch it on their MLB TV subscription. In some places it was available. In some places it wasn't. That's ridiculous. There were both teams playing in California. It wasn't really marketed. It was played in the middle of the night. And it was also, I think this is crazy, the Dodgers now on, I think it's on Friday, the day you're listening to the show. It might be Saturday. They're playing more spring training games.
Yeah, well, they'll have guys that didn't make the trip.
100%. But I also saw a hilarious tweet. I think I shared it with you in the car. That it's the equivalent of if Patrick Mahomes signed with the Dallas Cowboys, then his first appearance was played at 3 a.m. in Germany on a Wednesday. I mean, because it's Ohtani is a Dodger. We finally get to see him, but we have to wake up at 6 a.m. for a game that MLB did not market correctly.
Yeah.
So overall, I think we should get rid of this. Don't put it put it in the middle of the season, right? The London series, the series in Mexico, it's awesome.
It is tough with this time change.
Yeah.
Mexico, there's no time change. London, it's I think 7 hours, maybe 8 hours. It might be 6, actually. I think it's a 6-hour time change. So the difference between this and that is the time change is so drastic. You're playing on the literal other side of the world. It doesn't make sense in season unless you're doing it the weekend before the All-Star break. And why would you do that? You know what I mean?
And speaking of time zones, ladies and gentlemen of the Just Baseball Show, answer me this. California is closer to Korea. Why is it at 3 a.m. in California, 6 a.m. in New York, and then they were playing at 7 p.m. in Seoul? Korea is closer to California. I don't understand the time zones of how it's actually earlier, even though California is closer to Korea.
So
answer me that.
So I wanted to call you an idiot when you brought that up, and then I was like, wait, I don't have a firm answer for you. My answer would be the international dateline.
I'm staring straight into the camera for the YouTube folks. You answer. I don't know.
My answer is the international dateline, where it's at some point in the Pacific where you hit.
Yeah, but that's the right answer.
That is the right answer. But I can't explain to you why the international dateline is a thing.
People on Twitter believe MLB is so powerful to cover this up. Do you think MLB has a finger in the time zones?
Possibly in the international dateline. Yeah, they could have gerrymandered the international dateline. I think that could be a thing.
I just wanted to bring that up because it doesn't make any sense.
Fair. Real quick, 3 stars of the Seoul series.
Yamamoto.
He was the dud, unfortunately. Gonna save the, very detailed approach to Yamamoto, I think, for later episodes, because I don't want to react to one inning. But
just saw it, and it's also early in the morning. Yeah, it's we gotta fill it out a little bit. But overall, I mean, his command was all over the place, and he just didn't look normal. But we'll see. So
my 3 stars were Jackson Merrill. I know he wasn't getting base knocks, but he was hitting the crap out of the ball in his first 2 games. The most uncomfortable situation imaginable, where you're playing a new position at 20 years old, across the world, and you're making your big league debut. The fact that he had a bunch of balls hit 105 plus, and everything he hit was hard hit, I thought was amazing.
And it wasn't just how hard he was hitting the ball. He also didn't look outmatched. No. Even though he went 0 for 3 in the first game, his ABs versus Tyler Glasnow, I mean, not only is it your first AB, it's your first AB against a guy in the 99th percentile of extension, throwing 97 miles an hour with multiple breaking balls, who's considered one of the best pitchers on earth, and he looked as calm as a cucumber. It reminded me of watching Evan Carter in the postseason, where it's just, yes, Tyler Glasnow was on the mound, but it could have been you and I. It didn't matter who it was. He's going to work his at-bat. And so beyond, it's the plate discipline thing that I just gravitate towards. So I was immediately like, that guy is going to be the truth, even though I've only watched him in a few games. Now, it's a sweeping takeaway. Who knows what happens, but I did love what I saw.
Second star for me. Merrill was the third star. Second star for me was Mookie Betts.
So good.
He can play shortstop.
Yeah, what's the takeaway with him? He's just
he can play shortstop. Like, that's my takeaway.
And the thing is with Mookie, he's so good that while it does look uncomfortable, he's still making the plays. Like, that's the worst Mookie Betts at shortstop I think we're going to see.
Yes.
Is it doesn't look right, but the play is made.
Correct. And then star one for me is Shohei Ohtani. I mean, you've got all of this shit that you know is going to hit the fan at the same time that you're opening the season and you are making the most anticipated debut with a new team in recent history.
And he's hitting with a surgically repaired elbow on top of all this.
And it's...
Remember what happened with Bryce Harper? He did not look great. Shohei looks totally fine. He's a freak.
It's insane. What was the EV? He had a ball 108.7 today.
Did you see his foul ball that hit 119 in game one? I mean...
he's the star of every show that he walks into. He doesn't even come close to interacting with the media. He emerges in the on-deck circle and then rips off a single against Joe Musgrove after a multi-hit day in game one. He's my first star. This guy is as close to invincible as I've seen an athlete. Like, Bo Jackson, I didn't get to watch Bo Jackson play sports, but Ohtani is doing the alien/demigod type shit that I would expect Bo Jackson.
Especially if Ohtani is gambling on international soccer in the morning before the game and then performing.
No, it's his interpreter. Real quick before we
Did you know he's fast?
Yeah, I did know.
See how fast?
Yes, actually, it clicked for me this offseason when you said it the 85th time.
Seriously, did you see how fast he was? Did you know he's fast? So fast.
One more quick thing before we get to American League win totals. The Reds are running into massive issues. Friedel and Fraley both go down with injury. Matt McClain goes down with injury 48 hours later. In the same 12-hour stretch, Edwin Arroyo, one of their top prospects, tears his labrum. He's out for the year. He requires season-ending surgery. So what do? They go and trade for Santiago Espinal from Toronto. Espinal was likely pinched out with Davis Schneider's emergence, with the signing of Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, and they're still giving Cavan Biggio a run. I don't really get it, but whatever. With shit hitting the fan like this, not to mention Noelvi Marte suspended for 80 games for PED use.
Not ideal.
I thought Espinal was a great get in terms of putting a Band-Aid on, like, a sword wound. I just don't think there's a way that you can fully heal from what's going on right now injury-wise for the Cincinnati Reds, but Espinal is a good time buyer.
100%. And, it's so funny. Santiago Espinal, when I watch him on the Blue Jays, he looks better than the numbers. Like, if you're a Reds fan and you're not really watching a lot of Blue Jays games, you might go to the Baseball Reference and see a 644 OPS, and you're like, what are we getting? It's like, a guy, he is better. Yes.
Yeah, you're going to like Espinal.
I agree.
I promise you're going to watch him play 5 games. You're going to be like, I like this guy. It's very Stu Fairchild. Same vibe.
Or like a Jake Fraley, like one of those guys that just becomes kind of a fan favorite because he can do a bunch of things. He has a good attitude. He always has this great smile, and he plays the game hard. That's why Blue Jays fans love him. Like, they didn't want to give him up either.
No.
Like, they understand that he had a bad year, that there's a backlog, so they understand the deal, I'm sure, if you're coming from a Blue Jays fan. But from a Reds fan perspective, don't just look at the numbers at face value. I think he's better than those.
It's similar to Jose Caballero going to Tampa. The numbers, like the OPS numbers, aren't great, but you know that guy is going to fill a larger role than just an OPS number. So that's what we got. American League win totals. Before that, quick break.